Hello, everyone. I'm Jesus, and welcome to the next episode of the Road to Old School MTG. So, first of all, please excuse on these cards. They've already been removed from the package. Here, usually, I like to open up the packages as it's being filmed. But I was using a recording software, and looks like the recording was not done correctly, so I'm have to now do another one to make up. And the cards are already out here, right? But we're still going to do the usual. We'll look at the listings of these cards and then compare the actual cards to what was offered. And then in addition, I want to go over my new deck that I created for the upcoming Old School Atlantic Summer Derby. So first of all, let's talk about these cards. So as you can see, I have 3 Italian Underworld Dreams. So you can tell it does not say Underworld Dreams. So these cards I got mainly for my X Points deck. So my X Points deck is currently a mono black deck. For LobsterCon I added blue, and that was a big mistake. And now it's come back to being mono black. So Underworld Dreams is a card that I've been thinking about, basically mainly against control. And since my deck is mono black, the 3 black shouldn't be a issue. And it's low casting, 3 mana, right? So it's keeping with the theme of my mono black deck. So I've considered it, but basically these cards in English go like between $70 to $100, maybe even more, depending on the condition. And I wasn't willing to spend $200-300 on for 3 cards that I may or may not even use, right? I wanted to have the option and test it out, right? So maybe I do strongly believe I will be using these, but as a sideboard at the most. I don't expect to put it in the main deck. But finding these in Italian greatly reduced the price. Near mint is between $25 to $30-ish, and then heavy played below 20, right? In fact, that's what we have here. So I'm going to show you the listings of these particular cards. Even though they're all out, I can tell very clearly, well, for the most part. Let's see, these 2 maybe a little. All right, so let's show the listings. All right, so here I have the 2 listings. So first I've bought these from eBay, $32 for this one near mint. It is one of these. Yes, this one right here. I can tell because this one has a small, tiny little nick. So maybe I'll stop sharing for a bit. Yeah, you see that nick right there? And then it's just the edges are slightly worn. Yeah, you can see a little bit the edges here on the card. There's stuff that makes it not be near mint, right? Near mint is pretty specific. There's a little nick right there. The camera doesn't really catch it much, if at all. But yeah, I mean, it should be almost pristine, for near mint. So I would say it's hovering, but it's not, definitely I would not say it's near mint. So I kind of overpaid a little bit, but it's just a couple dollars extra, so not a big deal. Now for the but I made up the price on the heavy plate. Heavy plate is over here, $18.59. That was a set price for that. So both of these from ABU Games. I purchased from them before. But when you see this card here, it looks pretty decent. Like definitely has use. Where right there you can see those nicks there in the corner. So mainly the corners. Sorry, the camera's still not the best. The back is worn a bit. But all in all, honestly, I will not say this is heavy play. I would say this is moderately play. So between the two, they compensated for each other. And then now, those two I got first on eBay. Then I got this one from TCG Player right here. $25.07. And it's Italian near mint. And this one definitely is near mint. It looks solid. There's no issues with the edges, or at least not to make it not be near mint still. Yeah, you see, look at that sheen. So, and this was cheaper, right? So between the two, they compensated here, but then this is definitely a nice one right here. So like $80 basically for all three. I doubt I might get a fourth. I like to have a playset. If I can, I guess I can get a fourth just to have a playset. But this was nice. I got three pretty good ones for like $75, $80 US. That's basically the price of one English. So now I have these three, and I'm going to test them out in my X Points deck. So that's for this. Now let me show you guys my deck for the upcoming Old School Atlantic Summer Derby. So first of all, the Summer Derby gets its name from, well, of course, from the seasons, but also from the Mishra's Factory Four Seasons artwork. So there's these online tournaments 4 times a year per season. And right now we're up to the summer one, which just came a month, not even a month after the LobsterCon. So this is my updated deck with changes, pretty significant changes to the deck that I took to LobsterCon to here. In LobsterCon, the old version of the deck, well, maybe I can bring it up real quick. The old version of the deck, so 8 games, I went 4-4, and as I said in a previous video, I should have had, should have been 5-3, right? Which is would have put me top third of the bracket for the tournament. Let's see. I'm just looking through my decks here. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't put in a picture. That seems doubtful. Or maybe I just didn't put it in the folder I normally put it in. Let's see. But either way, so just comparing the LobsterCon to just what happened to me in that tournament, I've wanted to update this deck because this is my main deck, and I wanted to make changes that hopefully made some of the cards that really impacted me big time not impact me as much the next time around. And now the next time around is this upcoming Summer Derby. Okay, one more place I'm gonna look. If not, then maybe I erased it somewhere. All right, so I can't find the file real quick, but it's not a big deal. I just talk about the changes I made. All right. So, oh yeah, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, the original version of this in LobsterCon, I should have been a 5-3, but I lost one game where I made a big blunder. You can, if you care to listen to the story, you can watch the other video. But so three main cards cost me a lot of issues, and actually, it's three cards I anticipated would cause me issues, and I thought my deck was equipped to handle them, and I was mistaken. So now this new version, hopefully, well, I mean not hopefully, it does deal with the issues. It causes some newer issues though. But you can't really make something that's immune, right? I guess the best thing that's immune is the deck, right? But I do believe these changes will be beneficial to me, being to withstand those three key cards. And like I said, I anticipated it, and I thought the deck could handle it, but it didn't. So now here are the changes to hopefully now they will be able to handle these cards. All right, so number one, definitely Blood Moon was the number one card that wrecked me. Blood Moon is a red enchantment, makes all non-basic lands mountains, right? So for both players. So they're guaranteed to be in a mono red deck. There were a few mono red decks, and honestly, any deck that has red in it, they're still very likely to still have them in the deck, main deck, but at minimum sideboard, right? So they came out a lot. I would say I saw it like 4 or 5 times at maybe 3, 4, right? Maybe half the time, but that's quite a decent amount, right? So in 8 games. So the pre-version of this deck had 3 of the basic, 3 of the dual lands, not 4. 3, but it also had 4 Mishra's Factories and 4 City of Brasses. I'm pretty sure they had Mishra's Factory. Yeah, but definitely 4 City of Brasses. And I only have 1 basic plane and then 1 Mox Pearl, right? So if Blood Moon hit, these 2 are the only ways for me to find a white to cast a disenchant. But honestly, even if even if I had a planes or a Mox Jet, I still got to draw the disenchant, right? So while I'm waiting to draw it, that gives them more chance to shatter the pearl, which happened, and I believe somebody Stone Rain or something, one of my planes, right? So it's a big. That's the number one card that single-handedly lost me several games. So for me to counteract that, what I did was, of course, you see it over here. I have now 6 basic lands main deck. So I have 1 forest and 1 island. So that's at least 1 each, where I will still be able to cast all my green and most of my blue. The only double blue here is for the mana drain and brain geyser. But everything else is 1 blue, and everything here is only 1 green, right? So hopefully if I get 1 of each or 1 of either, at least I can still cast something. But mainly I have here, this is the most important color for planes. So that way I'm very likely to have at least 1 plane. First, number 1, I can still cast things, right? So I don't want to just be waiting for a disenchant. Okay, I have the planes, 2 planes. Okay, so even if he kills one of them, I still got to draw that thing, right? And while I'm waiting, what am I going to do? I'm just dying. So I can't just be waiting. I got to still be playing stuff. So hopefully these basic lands will make it so that as Blood Moon comes out, it's not going to totally impact me. It will definitely impact me, right? But I can, first of all, I can more easily disenchant it because I have 4 planes and a Mox Pearl. But also, as I wait for it, I can still hopefully still be able to cast stuff, right? If I have 1 planes, I could cast almost everything except the Sarah Angels, right? So now I do have a book as well, right? So that's colorless. So it doesn't matter what I have in play. I could just tap some of the dual lands. That'll help with that, right? So because it's colorless. Same thing. Now I have more colorless creatures, artifact creatures. I had no artifact creatures before. So that doesn't matter if they cast the Blood Moon. I can still cast those artifact creatures with the red mountains, right? So, but since the other deck had 4 City of Brasses, I compensated by adding the 4th of these dual lands, and then compensated by adding 2 Birds of Paradise, right? So hopefully between all that, it compensates for me losing 4 City of Brasses, which is a big deal, right? And just to be clear, from when LobsterCon ended and then to now is slightly less than a month. So I didn't have too much time for playtest this particular deck right here, right? I definitely playtested it a bit, right? So, but I would have liked, definitely more time, right? Or maybe play another tournament in between before. But yeah, I've gone from this deck has gone from LobsterCon now to straight to the Summer Derby, if I'm not mistaken. So in hindsight, maybe I should have taken out 2 and put in 2 planes, keep 2 planes definitely. Maybe put in 2 City of Brasses, right? Because as I'm playing, I am getting stuck with some not the correct mana to cast some of these spells. But that's just bound to happen. You can't fix all the problems for everything, right? You just gotta compensate and take a hit in other ways. But I think in general, my changes address Blood Moon pretty well. Number 2 card, City in a Bottle, right? So that card makes it so that any card in play from the Arabian Nights edition is immediately destroyed, and then nobody can cast any cards from those sets while City in a Bottle is in play. So the previous version of this deck had 4 Urnam Djinns, 4 Serendipity Freets, and 4 City of Brasses. That's 12 cards, plus the Library of Alexandria. I believe that's Arabian Nights as well. So that's 13 cards, right? So 1 card affects 13 cards, and it affected 2 of the bigger creatures, right? I still have 2 Sarah Angels over here, right? But the main big fatties are 4 Urnams, 4 Dips, and 2 Sarahs, right? So it affected 2 out of the 3. So to compensate, first of all, I took out all City of Brasses, right? So my mana base will not be affected by it. At most, I would lose the Loa, but that gives me colorless mana anyway, right? So that's not a big deal in terms of my mana base. And then me cutting back on 1 Urnam and 1 Dip makes it so that there's less targets for the City in a Bottle to catch. And then I compensated these 2 slots by adding, of course, the 2 Suchis. And I also, in addition, I went even more in the creature department, because I still felt I didn't have enough threats, right? Or I wasn't getting them quickly enough. So I put in 2 Trex as well. Trex, pretty versatile creature, pretty big casting cost, 6, right? But so this is definitely one of those spots. May I change it up? I was considering Juggernauts as well. That would fit in in terms of low casting. But Juggernauts, of course, are notoriously easy to kill with bolts and such. There was bolts all over the place, chain lightning. So either a lot of people do 4 Suchis. I do have the book, right? So that any mana could have gone there. So it's still, like I said, I didn't get the best amount of play testing here, but this seems okay. And the deck can definitely get a lot of mana, right? So it's not like it's all that hard. But there are times where the trikes were tricky to cast, but that will be in any case, right? It's just 6 mana is tricky, period. But in general, I think these changes address the City in a Bottle. So I've halved the cards that will be affected by it. So, and a lot of decks have a main deck, right? So it's not like they add them, first game I'm unaffected. Definitely, very much could be unaffected by it. And then if they come in sideboard, very likely, then I'm only affected in games 2 and 3, right? But no, nowadays a lot of the decks had a main deck, and I was definitely affected. And even within the sideboard, like still, I still don't want 13 cards from my deck to still be affected whether I added more things like energy fluxes, right? That would deal with the sin in the bottle, or at least kind of deal with it. So it's just not good to just be so dependent on Arabian Nights, period, right? So I've taken out those cards, made my dependence on Arabian Nights far less. So I will say maybe even players might not even think it warrants them, even if they didn't have a main deck, they might not even put them in the sideboard, from the sideboard. Or if they had a main deck, they might even take them out because they say, okay, this whole time I just saw one Ernie. I'm not going to keep that card just for that one Ernie. May have put in something else, right? So hopefully I'm thinking that might happen. But even if it doesn't, even if they still have those main deck, and if they still side them in, nonetheless, I will not be as affected by it. So I think that takes care of that. So now the third card, the Abyss. And I don't know if I mentioned, right, but those 3 cards, Blood Moon, Sin in Bottle, and the Abyss, I anticipate those 3 cards would be cards that would see a lot of play, and that it would affect my deck, and I was 100% correct on all 3. I thought my deck could handle all 3, but it did not. Or I may have still been able to win a game or 2 here. I believe I won a game while the Abyss was out. Right, but it's like I had to, most of the time I still lost, and when I did win, I had to like really struggle, right? So hopefully these changes make it so that first of all, those cards aren't going to affect me as much, if much at all, or at least I don't have to struggle so much. And then the final card, like I said, was the Abyss. So the Abyss is a black enchantment. Reads during each player's upkeep, that player chooses a target non-artifact creature, and he sacrifices that creature. So first of all, Whirling Dervishes come in when the Abyss is in play, because Whirling Dervishes have protection from black, right? The Abyss rates target creature, so it cannot target the Whirling Dervishes. And number 2, it cannot destroy artifact creatures. So by default, since I already have 4 artifact creatures to begin with, so me seeing the Abyss, I have a lot of non-artifact creatures, right? So it's still going to affect me. And even then, honestly, I would still consider maybe even adding even more artifact creatures. So we'll see, right? So this is still a work in progress. Depending how the Summer Derby goes, not depending, I'm sure I will make further changes, right? I'll just now, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have those 3 cards I'm going to play against those 3 cards again, right? So I'll see which one still affects me greatly, and then make changes accordingly. But yeah, I would say out of those 3 cards, the Abyss is the one that I've addressed the least, mainly because I didn't want to just make this into a totally different deck by that point, right? So the Abyss, so now, before, every single one of my creatures was affected by the Abyss. So basically, the only way I could counteract it is by playing multiple creatures at the same time. So that way I would kill only 1 per turn, and then if I flood the board, I still have other ones that are still attacking, right? But that's diminishing returns. Eventually I run out of creatures, right? But I do have the card draw now, an extra card draw in terms of the tome there. So I felt I didn't have that before. I still have the Ancestor and the Brain Guy, so that was still there from before, right? To a lesser extent, the Time Walk. But I think adding the tome is crucial for that as well. But now I do have 4 beefy creatures that main deck that are not affected by it. And of course, once the sideboard time comes in, I will sideboard in additionally 3 whirling dervishes. So, and I will probably take out, I would take out big casting cost stuff like the Saros and an Ernie for that, because as I said, that's one way to get around the abyss. You flood the board, right? And you can't flood the board with stuff that costs too much, right? Just 1 or 2 mana casting stuff. You can cast 2 or 3 creatures at a time, and hopefully you can cast 1 per turn for a few turns and deal some damage that way, right? So this was my way to, these changes are my way to counteract the abyss, right? So, and if you notice, a lot of these kind of like are intertwined. The Blood Moon affects my lands, but now I have more colorless creatures. I mean, yeah, before I had no artifact creatures, now I do. So Blood Moons will not, I can still cast these colorless creatures, and that just so happens to also help against the abyss. And then City in a Bottle, these creatures are antiquities, not Arabian Nights, so they are not affected by that, right? So I definitely believe I saw where both things, 2 cards were being done together, like either Blood Moon and City in a Bottle, or the Abyss and City in a Bottle, right? Or one of each, or only one only, right? So they come in, they can come in different combinations, not just a one-off. So that's why the deck needed to be able to be flexible against all 3 options, right? Because I could very well be facing 2 out of those 3 cards, maybe in all 3 in one deck. We'll see, right? But I definitely do remember facing Blood Moon and City in a Bottle within 1 game, right? So imagine that. No mana, plus if I managed to cast something, I couldn't, or if it was in play, it was destroyed immediately, right? So hopefully these changes, well, I mean, I definitely believe they do address all 3, to a lesser extent the Abyss. But I already had the Whirling Dervishes for that. And then with the addition of 4 artifact creatures and the tome, I think just that naturally definitely will help against the Abyss. And I guess either I have to get lucky and not face it so much, get lucky and get a quick disenchant, or get lucky and flood the board if it does come, right? So, it's the deck naturally has ways to go around it, to a degree, right? Sometimes 1 is enough to wreck me, but sometimes if I'm lucky, I can still get around it in 1 way. But I think I'm better. I can better deal with that naturally with the cards that are here as is, plus the cyber that I already had. All right, so I start tomorrow. So we'll see as the tournament is happening. I will every now and then pop in for a quick update, tie it in with if I'm doing anything else or opening any other cards. But I will be giving updates just for you guys to see how these changes impacted the performance of the deck against those 3 cards in particular, but also in general, if these changes just made the deck as a whole weaker, or if it kept it the same, maybe did it even make it slightly better, because I have more threats now. Like I said, I took out an Urnum and a Dib. That's 2 creatures. There it is. But then, I don't know. Oh yeah, since I took out the black, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but I took out, there were 2 black cards. The traditional Mind Twist and Demonic Tutor. A lot of times during LobsterCon, I did not have a black, and then those cards ended up being just dead draws, right? Plus, like I had to add a Mox Jet as well, just for that. So I took out the Jet now. I also had a Mox Ruby, even that was just strictly for colors because I had no red. But between that, all those, I added 4 more creatures, 2 trikes, so 2 more threats in addition, and then 2 birds to hopefully help out the mana base. And then these help out also with the Abyss, because I can just chuck them to the Abyss while keeping the attackers alive a turn for attack, right? So these changes could very well be an improvement, right? Because I have more threats, honestly, than before. Or at a minimum, the idea is good. I just still have to improve on it, right? And then, like I said, maybe 4 Suchis. Although I don't have 4 Suchis, I gotta get more if I decide to go that way, or maybe Juggernauts are good enough. We'll see. I have toyed with the idea of Terrorlords, but then if I do that, then I gotta add black again. So, I don't want to go too crazy. I think me going Artifact, but then Terrorlords wouldn't be so great against the Abyss, right? So I do like the Artifact angle. So it's just a matter of playing the Summer Derby and then seeing if these particular changes here were good against the matches that I get, right? But only time will tell, and I'll let you guys know. Thank you for watching.